in the cloud. And there we go. So we're starting recording now. And if you hit your mute button, then your audio will be off and you won't be recorded. But whenever you want to ask a question or make a comment, please do unmute and let me know. Is there anything you want to say before we get started? We're going to focus a little bit on the feet and the shins and the ankles, which can often have a big effect on how the knee and the hip feel also. And then we're going to work up the body. So anything you want to add to that? Anything coming up? Okay. All right. So you may want a block or a heavy book, something like that, or maybe even two. But they won't be absolutely necessary. Some kind of towel or strap, or if you have a stretchy band, sometimes it's nice to have the stretchiness, but again, not necessary. You could just use a towel or a strap. And if you have anything that's heavy, these are 2-pound weights, but a water bottle will do. If your books are heavy, you can use the block or the book as a weight also, because these are actually about 2 pounds. Or, you know, if you want to grab a can of beans or tomatoes or something, that can work as well. But again, none of these will be absolutely necessary. I want you to start in a seated position that lets you work with one foot on the floor. I'm going to tilt this camera down as much as I can so you can see my floor. Now, one way you can do that is by sitting on the edge of a piece of furniture or on your blocks. Another way is to stretch this extra leg out or tuck it in towards you, because we're just going to work with your right foot first. So I want your right foot to be able to set on the floor, and then we're going to flex it. So as you get ready, any of these positions will do. We're just focusing on this right foot. Make sure it's in a position where you can flex it. Good. And then you're just going to roll through that foot. And I think all of you have done this with me in one position or another. And this is essentially simulating what we do every time we take a step. We're slowing it down and exaggerating that roll through the foot. Good. Now keep it in the flexed position. Notice how this stretches the back of your calf, and it engages these muscles along the front, right along your shin. But there's 2 groups of muscles here. There's inner and outer, right along your shin. So now we're going to try to isolate those. So take a moment, look at your big toe, and maybe even reach down with your hand, or maybe you use your band or your towel, loop it around. That'll make your arms a little longer. So any of these things will do. So you can grab each side of your foot. And now if you've been flexing your foot this whole time, you're probably already feeling some fatigue here. You feel a little bit of warmness. Now we're going to start to isolate one side at a time. Hold on to the big toe side and pull this big toe side of your foot up more than the baby toe side. You're going to pull that big toe side up. So if I show you this from above, what you're seeing is that this side of the foot is pulling up. Yeah. Now you can pull up the toe, but what we're really doing is pulling up the base of the toe. And hopefully you start to feel these muscles are contracting, these muscles are stretching, maybe all the way into your ankle. Now this is actually the easier of the 2 options. Now you're going to grab hold of that baby toe side and try to pull the baby toe side up more than the big toe side. For many people, this is the harder of those 2 options. Now I'm going to sit back down so you can see how this works on the floor. So if you're holding on, then your arms can assist as you go back and forth. Big toe, baby toe, big toe, baby toe. But remember, it's not the actual toes. I'm talking about the sides of the foot. So it's the base of the big toe and the base of the baby toe. So there's two things that might happen here. Your knee might start to move back and forth. Don't let it. Keep that knee stable. So the knee stays stable as you pull up the big toe base and the baby toe base, right? Are you starting to feel some work right along here? I want you to feel baby toe base pulling up towards this knee, but keep that knee stable. Don't let it change. Yes, good. Hold that and then let go. See if your leg muscle can do that on its own. It's outer ankle and outer shin. Those are all working to pull this baby toe side of the foot up, 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 up. Whew, and then let it relax. Good. We're going to take the other side. And remember, you can do whatever you want with this right leg. Let it relax. We're going to flex this left foot. Flex from the heel, flex through both the baby toe and big toe sides. Yeah, and again, you can use your band or your towel to assist. Notice how your arms can help. And then roll through that foot like we often do. Keep widening the toes. Keep lifting the arch. And then keep the foot flexed. You can use the hands or the towel to assist. Pull that big toe side up. Yeah, don't let that knee, the knee might want to push out, don't let it. This is all happening between the knee and the base of the big toe. So you might feel right along the inside of the shin working. You might feel the inner ankle working. Or what you might feel is more of the stretch on that outer shin and outer ankle. Now, switch it up. Pull the baby toe side up more than the big toe side. Yeah, you can assist with your arms and then play around with less arm assist. So the leg muscle, the ankle, and the foot muscles are all doing this work. You might be able to see it's really hard for me to get this side visibly up. It's hard for me to demonstrate because there's so little visible movement here, but I can feel it. And then we're going to alternate between the two. Big toe side, baby toe side. Big toe side, baby toe side. Yeah, so now it's more visible what I'm doing. And you can do it as slowly and as minusculely as you wish. Because what we're not doing is twisting this knee. We're going to keep this knee very stable. And so that might mean that one of these movements feels tiny. You might barely see anything happening as you feel those muscles begin to fire. And then do a little less with the hands. See if they can let go and let the leg and foot muscles do this. Good, and then slowly release. Oh wait, no, we are gonna hold this one, this baby toe side of the foot. Pull that up, keep those muscles engaging for a few breaths. Hold that as lifted as you can with your knee in the center. So these two movements have anatomical names, eversion and inversion. The one that you're doing right now, pulling the base of the baby toe up, is eversion. And then slowly release, yes? And we'll come to hands and knees. So you can use the blocks or the books underneath your hands because we will be stepping forward in a few moments. But let's just start by stretching out the tops of the feet here. Oh, and I should say, as you send your hips back, if you want to create a little space behind the knee, you might take your towel or your stretchy band and thread it into those knee creases and pull your hands forward and get a little bit of tension on that towel or that stretchy band. Yeah. Now, if space in your knees is not an issue for you, then you might not notice any difference. But some of us will feel some relief in the knee and maybe even feel like we can push the hips back a little further when we're pulling on the towel or the band. So if your band is stretchy, you can keep walking your knees back and getting more tension on that band, and then shift your hips back towards child's pose. Yeah. See how much tension you like right behind that knee crease each time you send your hips back towards child. Yeah. You might do it again. Walk those knees back and then press the hips, child. 2 more times. And then hold your extended child's pose. Hips back, arms forward. Let the forehead relax towards the floor. Three slow breaths. And then inhale, walk your knees back in towards a table position. Release the band or the strap off to the side. We'll be stepping the right foot forward into a 90-90 lunge. So the knees are each at 90 degrees. Good. And then flip those blocks up if you like them. I'm going to get in closer to you so you can see my right foot. So the hands can be on blocks or on your front thigh as we again move through that little sequence for the foot. See if you can press through ball of the big toe, ball of the baby toe. And then as you move back, inner and outer heel. Yeah. There you go. And then finally, flex that foot so the heel stays down and see if no assist from your hand, you can find eversion and inversion. Keep this right knee stable as you pull base of the big toe, base of the baby toe, up towards your knee. Notice when that knee wants to wiggle or twist, don't let it. If it's helpful, put your right hand on that right knee to keep it as stable as you can. Now, if this is very easy for you, both the eversion and the inversion, you're gonna lean forward. You're gonna make it harder to flex to begin with. So the more I lean into this lunge, the less I can lift the foot. You see that? So I can barely get the ball of the foot off the floor. This is gonna make it a lot harder to evert and invert. So take a few more breaths, pulling up big toe side, pulling up baby toe side. Good. And I'll show you from the front, keeping that knee still. Try to ignore my toes because my toes don't matter. I'm pulling up the base of the baby toe and the base of the big toe, and this is all getting very, very warm. And then set that whole right foot down. Wiggle that right foot over to the left, like you're moving into a pigeon. Flex the foot and pull this baby toe side of the foot towards the outer knee. Yeah, so you're doing a little more eversion as you find this stretch. Good. Now, if you don't feel a stretch, use your back leg. Wiggle that back leg a little further back, inchworming the knee further away. Keep flexing this right foot and pulling the baby toe base up. Yeah? So this is what it looks like from the front and from the side. You're just taking that back knee further back if you need to feel the stretch. Then you're pulling this baby toe in towards you and you're taking one more deep breath. This is all very active. The legs are pushing the floor away. Yes. Good. Now slowly wiggle this right foot back to its right hand lane. So you're in this big, big lunge and bring your hands down a little lower, closer to the mat. There you go. Good. As you exhale, slowly lift that back foot a little at a time and just explore. What do you feel as you lift the back foot? Doesn't have to be a lot. There could be lots of sensation in the quads and in the hip flexors. Take one more deep breath. And then slowly put that back foot down. Wiggle your foot back, coming into your table position. Notice the two sides. Send your hips back towards child's pose. Walk your hands forward. Noticing the two hips and legs, all the way down through the ankle and the foot. Now inhaling, come forward to table. And exhaling, step that left foot forward. You can put your hands on the blocks or on your front thigh. Flex that left foot. Roll through that front foot, heel to ball. Good, now focus. Focus on getting that even flexion through inner and outer foot each time. Now land with your heel digging into the mat, flexing at the ankle. Good, try to do this with no hands this time. Pull the big toe side of the foot up towards your knee. And then switch, pull the baby toe side of the foot. Yeah, now this is the side that I really have to hold this knee in place. Otherwise it will really move around. So I'm gonna stabilize this knee as I pull the big toe and the baby toe up. Minimizing the movement at the knee so I feel inner shin and outer shin lighting up. Yeah. Now remember, if this is easy for you, then we're going to change the lunge. You're going to take your right knee back and send your hips forward and down. So you have a different angle here at your ankle. And then as you flex your foot, it gets a lot harder to get any lift at all. Yeah. So feel free to pad that back knee or shin. And once you get into a position where it's more challenging for you to flex, try that eversion and inversion again. Stabilizing your knee. Don't worry if you don't see a lot of movement, especially if you're increasing this angle of your ankle. You might not see a lot of movement here, but you'll feel these muscles working. Yeah. And we're going to end with more of this baby toe lifting. Hold there. Keep your knee centered as the baby toe side tries to lift up and feel those shin muscles working. Keep that action of the baby toe pulling up As you work your foot over to the right, as if you're gonna come into a pigeon. You'll feel it. You've got to pull that baby toe side up towards that outer knee to keep a nice clean flex at the ankle and at the knee. And then if you need more stretch, you're gonna walk your back knee further back. Nice and slow and steady. So in some yoga classes, we drop into a pigeon and we kind of go whoop, right? But here we're not doing that. Keep your legs very active. Everything from this outer foot pulling up to your knee hugging in, to your legs pushing the floor away. And I know it's exhausting, so take one more good breath. It's a very active engagement from the ankle to the knee to the hip. And then slowly drop your hands down lower. Wiggle this left foot out to the left. So it gets back in its own lane. And from here, as you lower your hands, begin to lift that back foot up. Any amount, a little or a lot. Bring your neck in line with the rest of your spine. Take 2 more breaths, noticing any stretch along the front of that right hip. And then slowly step back to your table position. Take a moment here to warm up the wrists and the fingertips. So come onto your fingertips and gather them in like you're about to pick up some tiny object. That's it, swiping them across your sticky mat to squeeze in a couple times. That's it. And then hold that squeezed in position, fingertips pressing into the mat, manicure being ruined if you still have one at this point in quarantine. But your forearms, the pale side of your forearms are starting to fire up. So this part that tends to be weaker on us, it's engaging as we gather those fingertips in towards the midline. Take a deep breath. And then finally set the whole palm down, but retain a little bit of that gripping action. So your fingertips are still squeezing in a little bit, like a cat when it puts its claws out and it kind of claws the floor or the blanket about to lie down. Do that little clawing action with your fingertips. See if you can again get it to fire up this pale side of your forearm, even though you're keeping your palm down. So it's a much smaller, more subtle action. And then work all the way up to your shoulder blades. Bring those shoulder blades together and take them apart. Yeah, let's link this to the breath. So as you inhale, bring your shoulder blades together, melt your heart towards the mat. As you exhale, push your shoulder blades apart, pressing the floor away. A few more times. And then put them in what feels like neutral shoulder blade. From neutral, now go towards the ear and away from the ear. Shoulders towards the ear, shoulders away from the ear. That's it. A couple more times. Towards the ear and away. One more. Good, now keep those shoulder blades away from your ears and lift your left hand without bending your left elbow. So this is gonna be a small action. Yeah, practice this action of taking the arm bone up to the sky without bending the elbow. See if you can feel that left shoulder blade move towards your spine to do this. And then switch it up, right side. Right hand lifts without bending the elbow. And essentially what you're doing is shoulder blade to the spine. Shoulder blade towards the spine. And then alternate, left and right. Legs and pelvis stay very still and stable. Arms stay straight. So they can only lift like an inch or two. Good. Now, next time you lift that left hand, same way, shoulder blade, core engaged. Stretch that left arm back. Keep moving that left shoulder blade towards your spine. So it should feel a little bit like you're opening your collarbones to the left. Yeah. And then slowly bring it back. Set the hand down. Lift that right hand an inch or two. Yeah. Then slowly stretch it back. Opening the collarbones a little to the right. And bring it back. Now you can keep going with this. Or you can add something with just 1 or 2 pounds of weight. Like these are 2-pound weights. Or you might use heavy blocks or books. So all you're doing is lifting the object an inch or two. See this block, it just barely lifts. And then reach it back, open collarbone. Bring it back down, other side. Lift it up an inch, reach it back. Yep. Doesn't have to be heavy because we're gonna go super slow. Exhale, brace your core, lift the object, and reach it back. Feel that left shoulder blade glide towards your spine, and then bring it back down. That's it. Lift the object, reach it back, shoulder blade to the spine. Good, keep going. Bring your head and neck to neutral, so you're looking down as you move. Notice if there's a difference between the two sides. Go one more time on each side, noticing any difference in sensation or range. Good, and then set your objects to the side and get ready for downward dog. Spread the fingers wide, taking your hands a little wider than your shoulders. Yeah. And now do that gripping thing again with your fingertips. Create active fingertips gripping or clawing the floor so you feel the pale side of your forearm engage. Then get ready with your feet and ankles. Turn the toes under. Get as much of the bases of your toes to the mat as you can. Spread those toes out. And if your big toes have a tendency to move in towards your second toes, you're gonna lift up those big toes and spread them away from the second toes here as you get ready for your downward dog. Now, slowly gripping the floor with your fingertips and widening the bases of your toes, lift your hips up, head towards downward dog with bent knees. With your knees bent, push the bases of your pointer fingers down into the mat. Send your hips up and back. Get as long as you can through the spine and breathe 3 times. As you breathe, widen the bases of your feet. See if you can evert and invert a tiny bit here. And I know it won't move very much, but feel inner and outer shin and ankle muscles working for you. Yeah. Good. Now exhale, walk your hands back towards your feet. Bend your knees, get ready to come all the way up to standing. When you're ready to inhale, rise. Exhale in Mountain Tadasana. Now take a deep breath here, finding Mountain. Let your eyes settle on one point in front of you. Roll those shoulders a few times so they go forward and up and then back and down. Forward and up, back and down. One more time. Now ground your heels. Let your hips glide back. Let the shoulders and the head stay back. When you're ready, lift your right foot up so nothing but the big toe is touching the floor. Yeah. Get ready to take a big step forward with that right foot. So bend your standing leg a little bit. Wake up that left hip and glute so it's lifting up. We did this last time on block. Remember, drive your left heel down. Lift your left hip up and in towards the midline. And then very slowly take a big step forward with that right foot. Finding a lunge. Now, if you can keep your back heel lifted, do that today. Keep your back leg parallel and the heel lifted. And I know this is trickier to balance in, so make sure the joints feel good as you do this. And then see if you can evert and invert that back foot a little bit. It's going to be a little wiggle here. Keeping the thigh as stable as you can, just wiggling the lower leg and the foot and ankle. And then find what feels like center to press back through. Now, of course, if this hurts any of the joints, go ahead and put that back heel down if you need to. Now focus on your front foot. Can you evert and invert a little bit? You can see my knee starts to wiggle here. It's harder not to move that front knee, but stabilize it as much as possible as you lift big toe base, baby toe base. And then even it out. Notice if you have a habit of leaning more into one side or the other. If it's challenging to even out that weight between the big toe and baby toe bases. Good, and then inhale, reach your arms up overhead. Exhale, take your hands behind your head. Gently glide the head back into your hands. Breathing here. One more good breath. Inhale, reach the arms up in your high lunge. Exhale as you bring your hands down. Left hand goes on the floor or on a block or a book. Wiggle this left foot as far back as you need to so that you can twist your rib cage to the right and breathe. Anything you like to do with this right arm, you can go ahead and reach it up or bind it behind your back. Make sure the shoulders feel good. Take one more good breath with this active back leg. Good, and then slowly lower that back knee. Flip the foot so your toenails come down to the mat. Press the top of the foot, the toenail side of the foot into the mat. See if you can lift the knee a little, but not necessarily as much as I'm doing. Lower that knee. I'm making this really visible so you can see it, but I want you to feel it. So close your eyes. Lifting and lowering that knee a little or a lot. Feel those quadriceps working. One more. Beautiful. Step it back to hands and knees or downward facing dog. Take a long breath here. And when you're ready, walk your hands back. Come up into those spider hands as soon as you can so you're working your grip strength and the pale side of the forearm. And then slowly on an inhale, rise. Come all the way up to Mountain Tadasana. Take a few breaths, grounding the heels, opening up the chest, gliding the head back. When you're ready, lift the left foot, everything except the big toe. Feel your standing head. Ground that standing heel. Lift your standing hip up and in towards the midline. Really working the standing leg as you get ready to step this left foot forward. Go nice and slow. And then find your high lunge. So if at all possible, that back heel stays lifted, but if you need to, you can always turn and put it down. And if you like a wider base, then take your feet onto wider train tracks as you hold this high lunge. And then see if you can do any eversion or inversion with that back foot. Moving the back knee as little as possible. Just feeling the lift of the ball of the foot, or I should say the lightening of the ball of the foot on the big toe side and on the baby toe side. And then bring it to what feels like center. Focus on your front foot, lightening up the base of the big toe and the base of the baby toe. And again, you can see my knee starts to move a little, so I'm gonna put my hand there and stabilize it. So I'm really working that lower leg. Tiny movements. Now even out that weight, and for some of us, like my tendency is to roll to the outside of the foot. So for me, it feels like a lot more effort to press the base of the big toe into the mat. See if that's true for you. In order to balance it out, you have to put more effort into eversion or inversion. And then take those hands behind your head, because I know you're feeling this lunge now. So glide your head back. Find that sensation of stretch somewhere on the right side of the body, and breathe. On your inhale, reach the arms up overhead. On your exhale, let's take the hands down. Right hand can go to the floor or to a block. Begin to twist the rib cage to the left. You can always wiggle your feet further apart or closer together as you twist. Left arm can go up or bind as you breathe. Slowly unwinding. Taking the hands down if that's helpful. Lower the back knee. Let that knee come to a comfortable spot. And then you're flipping that foot so that the toenail side of the foot goes down and you're pointing through the ankle. And then push that foot into the floor and lift the knee and the thigh, any amount, a little or a lot. Lower it slowly, and then lift. Lower, good, and then lift, or make it feel light, because you're pushing the foot down so firmly, the knee gets lighter. That's it, it doesn't matter how much it moves. You're pressing through that pointed foot. If you need to take a break because it'll cramp up, go ahead and do so. One more time. And then slowly bring it down. You're going to step it back to table or downward dog. Good. Now at this point, we're ready to come back down to the floor. We've done lots of foot, ankle, and hip work, and a little bit of shoulder work today. Does anybody have any questions or anything that you noticed that you want to mention about what we did today so far? Okay, come down onto your back. There we go. And let the spine be neutral here. Let the head and the neck come to a resting position. Settle into a slower breath. If it's helpful, put a hand somewhere on your ribs or your abdomen so that you can feel the breath from the outside as well as from the inside. Let the shoulders release towards the floor. Let the hips and the thigh bones get heavy, almost like your thigh bones are sinking a little deeper into the hip sockets. And as the breath gets slower, notice if there's anything that the shoulders or the hips or the spine is requesting. Are there any last movements or positions that the body is asking for? So I'll cue you through a reclining twist, but feel free to take any variation, any posture that your body is requesting. If you're taking the twist, open up your arms to a T and let the shoulders release there. Inhale as you lift both feet slightly off the floor. Exhale as you engage the deep core and let your knees go to the right. Now you might let your knees hover and the left shoulder stays connected to the mat. Or maybe it's the other way around and you let your knees settle and your left shoulder lifts up a little. You can also prop your knees, placing your right hand in between the knees or underneath that right knee. Use your props any way you like. A block or a book can be tucked in to the knees. And then let the next 3 or 4 breaths settle and relax this left shoulder. Long breath in. Full breath out. Slow breath in. Even slower breath out. 2 more, your pace. When you're ready to unwind, come back through center, with or without any of the props that you are using. Take your knees gradually to the other side. Stretch that right arm out and let the right shoulder release. You may have to make some choices about what touches the floor and what hovers. But feel free to tuck a prop or a hand underneath any of those body parts so they can fully relax towards the floor. Take the next 4 breaths to let that right shoulder release. Sometimes staring straight up towards the ceiling is ideal for the neck, but sometimes the neck prefers to turn right or left, so feel it out. And then gradually bring it all back to center. Placing the feet on the floor, you can prop the body however you like for your final relaxation. You might open up arms and legs to the ceiling, Or take your legs up on a piece of furniture or up onto a wall. Any position that lets your body fully relax. And together we'll practice one last breath technique. Inhale to a comfortable level through your nose. Exhale a little longer than you think you will. Inhale again to a comfortable level through the nose. This time, exhale only a third of the way. Pause. Exhale another third of the way. Pause. Exhale that final third of the way until you feel empty. Pause. Inhale through the nose, steady, no pauses at all. Exhale a third of the way. Pause. Exhale another third of the way. Pause. Exhale that final amount until you feel empty. Pause there. Inhale slow and steady through the nose. 2 more, your pace. Just introducing some pauses to the exhalation. Watching what happens. And now let go of doing anything in particular. Let the body relax. Let the breath become ordinary. For a few more minutes, allow this relaxation to continue, knowing that you don't have to do anything. The previous 55 minutes set you up. That's where you created the conditions that promote relaxation. And now whatever happens, whatever thoughts or emotions or physical sensations arise, you don't have to do anything about them. Observe, let it go. Thank you so much for joining us, and have a wonderful day.